Hello, Facebook and YouTube True Inner Work community. Today I want to talk about don't be a warrior, be you. I had this insight this morning because I see a lot of people with this warrior spirit. There's this part of us that I love that doesn't want to settle for less than we know is possible. Hi, Christine. Thanks for tuning in. If you are truly and deeply a warrior, be that. That's who you are. But this video is for those of us who have been being a warrior, but it's really not working for us in some way, shape, or form. Because many people I've seen trying to be warriors, even though we're not. And it's really coming from this beautiful place of not wanting to settle for less, of being passionate, of wanting to inspire others. But again, it's taking away from us being fully and truly who we are. And what do we need more of? People who they really are. We don't need a warrior trying to inspire people to be who they are. The way that we're going to inspire people to be who they really are and to own their greatness and to own their uniqueness and to stand out is to just be who you are, warrior or not. So I wrote a little blog post on this. So if you see me looking away, I'm just kind of referencing the blog post. Being a warrior is appealing because we're seen as strong and resourceful and unshakable, not even by others as much as within ourselves. That's the part that really matters, right? So the warrior we think we need to be in order to get to where we want to go, because we're so fired up and passionate, right? It's all great energy. Hi, Carly. Is we think as a warrior, we need to be fierce. We need to be focused. We need to be relentless, right? There's powerful words. We need to be passionate. And if those things come naturally to us, then I'm saying, again, great, be that. But that's not true for a lot of us. And more people are waking up to the spiritual realization that, oh, maybe I don't have to try so hard. Maybe I don't have to try so hard to close the gap between who I am and who I want to be. And I want to find out more about that. And those are the kinds of people who I'm speaking to right now. I want to find out how to be more at peace with myself, more joyful, have more meaning in my life, feel and be more abundant, feel safe and secure now. That's what I want. And that's what I know. Some part of me knows that that's possible. And I'm seeing these warriors out there going and crushing it. And that works for some people. But a lot of people, that's from the level of consciousness where they've made a transition from being victim, happening to me, level one consciousness. Hey, Carly, thanks for tuning in. To moving into the by me level of consciousness. So now I'm a creator, right? I'm a warrior. I am being strong and focused and relentless and relentless and unshakable, right? In my passion and my determination. And that's how I want to inspire other people. And that works for some, but some of us are tuning into that next level of consciousness, which is shifting from to me to by me to through me. And suddenly I'm realizing that I can give up my personal will for the will of life itself. Some people call that God, some people call it the universe. It really, again, doesn't really matter what we call it. And if I do that, then point A and point B become the same thing. And suddenly there's nowhere to get. And that's also part of what we're most afraid of. Well, it's like, well, then what am I supposed to do? And it's this weird realization of like, I understand that I still have to take action, but I also don't have to take it. I get to take it now. So what do I want anyways? So we're talking about here, maybe I'm a warrior and maybe I'm not. And does that even really matter? And I'm talking about how a lot of people are in that determined state of that by me consciousness. I create my reality, which is true. And also, does it have to be so hard? So we want to be inspirational warriors. We don't want to settle for less than we know is possible. We want to work hard. We want to play hard. We want to fall in love with the idea of who a warrior is rather than falling in love with who we truly are. And that's what we need more inspiration on. We need to help people fall in love with who they truly are, not by being something that we're not, just to try and inspire them and to speak out, right? We want to speak out. We want to be heard. We want to let people know you can do this too. You're empowered, right? And all this passion and this energy comes off as a lot of telling energy. It comes off as a lot of like, well, I'm not like that. So how am I supposed to do that? Or it makes people feel even worse because they're like, well, I'm not like you and I'm not a warrior. And I'm feeling like I should be able to be like extremely determined and relentless and fierce and focused and all of these things. And I'm not. So now I feel really bad that I'm not being a warrior and going to get what I want because I see other people doing that. So it's funny how that can backfire on us, right? We're not inspiring people sometimes, we're showing them what they're not. So oftentimes we put on a mask of a warrior as being brave, not just for ourselves, because sometimes we want to do that, but for others. It's like, look, I'm being brave. You have the warrior spirit too. You can go out there, you can crush it, right? And it's just too powerful of an energy for some people. That's why we're settling down into these new realms that Brene Brown really brought out, I think it made mainstream, of vulnerability. There's power in vulnerability. And then what I'm bringing attention to also is there's power in humility. Where what if I'm being the change I want to see in the world and I'm not telling everyone about it? What if I'm just here on this video singing because I like to sing, right? What if we all we need to do to be an inspiration to others is be ourselves, is be the bird that sings just because that's part of what it does. It's programmed to do so. And I can't tell why I like doing this. It doesn't matter why. I've let go of that. I just like this. And I really hope people tune in. And at the same time, if I talk for the next year on this video and no one watches, that's okay. So we oftentimes put on that mask of being a warrior with a good intention. And that's the interesting part about it. It's not to say that being a warrior is wrong or bad. It is a good intention. We have a beautiful intention to inspire, to ignite, to motivate others. But our warrior in spirit can be the same thing that stops people from truly connecting with us because all they see is someone up on a pedestal again, rather than just being like, oh, this person is just like me. And they seem to be living a life of ease and abundance and peace. And I want that too. They've struggled a bit. And they're showing me that maybe it doesn't have to be so hard, that maybe I don't have to get anywhere, that maybe everything that I'm looking for outside of myself is right here now. And I just need some help, some signposts to point me to that. Because that's the interesting thing about this, spiritual perspective and the reality really of spirituality is we can only offer signposts to each other to help each other remember of who we are and where we're going and what the real journey is. Because what we're talking about is a mystery, the mystery of who you are, really. And the mystery of who we are really is spirit, spirit in body. More and more of us are understanding ourselves from that perspective or that reality. And we're just coming into alignment with actualizing that realization within ourselves. And along that journey, we need help being pointed back. Sometimes we need one-on-one help. And that's what I work with people on in my true inner work, self-development coaching. Sometimes we need help of the community. We just need to share our stories to see and be seen. But we really need, as that's why I'm titling this, don't be a warrior, be you. That's the real warrior. That's where the real courage comes from. In being you, in not putting on any mask at all, no matter the good intention. Right? So, in order to inspire others, we need to show them that strength and personal power can look different ways for different people. And that's one of the interesting things I've noticed with different speakers that I've seen on stage. I'm like, oh man, like that guy's so good. And he told this amazing story and he seemed to be like completely fearless and he's loud and outgoing. And I really enjoyed that energy. And then this next person comes up, sits down on a couch, and I'm totally captivated. And they're a totally different flavor. And they just help me remember, not even realize, but just remember that we're incomparable. And I had this great conversation with my friend today where we're equal and incomparable. That's kind of like your mind goes, what? I'm equal to you. In other words, I'm not above or below. And also, we're apples and oranges. I can't be compared to you. And the way that I always explain this is we're like trees in a forest. And there's a pine tree and an oak tree and a raspberry bush. And each one is wanting to be more like the other. The raspberries like bush is looking up to the pine tree going like, oh, if only I could be a pine tree. He seems to grow so fast and he's got all these cool prickly needles. And the pine tree's going, oh, I wish I could be the great oak tree. He's like so tall and whatever. And the oak tree's going, I wish I could be a raspberry bush and produce all this delicious fruit. And we're all at different heights in our journey in different stages, and each one's looking to the other, comparing, wishing they could be something other than who they are. When really each of them is playing their own part. And if they just put all of their energy and attention into being who they are rather than something that they're not, there'd be so much peace in that. And also, if the pine tree is looking up to the oak tree, and going like, oh wow, if I could only be you, it forgets that if it just looked down into its right, there's a little raspberry bush that's half its height anyways. So why is it comparing itself on its height? We forget that we're in our own place, in our own journey, and that we're equal and incomparable at the same time. So we need more of you rather than more of who you want to be. That's what we need more of. And so it's hard sometimes to accept I'm not that. It's almost easier to accept who I am than who I'm not because I want to be so desperately this other thing in this other place. And I feel like I need to try so hard in order to get there. But it's not abundance that we create, it's limitation that we create for ourselves. How do we create limitation? We create limitation when we bring something that's happened from our past into the present because we're living this moment based on reference experiences in the past that say, I was hurt at this point in time in my life in this way or these points in time. I don't want to let that happen again. So I better protect myself. And we come up with all of these really ingenious ways of protecting ourselves to the point where we don't know who we are underneath all of that those masks and that protection anymore. So it's really useful to have the time and the space, either in group or one-on-one, to explore who you really are. We don't have that opportunity really offered to us nowadays. We're busy looking outside to those warriors that I've been talking about to lead us. I want to respect you. I want to put you on a pedestal. I want to respect you. I look up to you versus on a level playing field. I am equal and incomparable. And how can this person just help me remember more of who I am? And the more I allow that for myself, the more I'm going to be who I am and remind that person too. Carly, thanks for a question. Awesome. I love questions. So please comment below and I'll do my best to answer. So, where do you see the balance between a warrior to yourself while a warrior for others towards a common cause? That's an amazing question because that is definitely one of the pivotal struggles that I see in people that I'm currently working with is this balance between honoring myself and honoring the other person. We all have this desire to serve, this pure heart's desire that says, I really hope, I really wish that I can serve well. And I hope there's a vulnerability there, right? Where's the vulnerability? It's, I hope that I can be me and that by being me, I can serve well, that I'm able to serve well just by being who I am and not trying to be anything else. And there's that beautiful vulnerability in that. I really hope that I'm enough to serve. So, where is the balance between being a warrior to myself while a warrior for others towards a common cause? I think I need to speak about those separately because what I'm trying to reflect on right now is what is a warrior to yourself? It sounds like standing up for who you are and maybe giving yourself. I wrote the book called The Power of Permission, and one of the permissions is permission to say no and permission to disappoint others. And it's been really important for me on my journey of becoming who I am and following my calling in life has been I can't please everyone. And I'm oftentimes in choosing me and being a warrior for myself, I'm going to have to give myself permission. In other words, make it okay that I'm going to disappoint others. I need to give myself permission to say no and to draw that boundary. I can't go to that birthday party today because this is really important to me. It's not to say that I don't want that I don't like you. It's just to say that in this moment I'm choosing me. And that's the hardest thing to do sometimes because we feel that social pressure, that obligation to others, right? Especially for women, it's huge because we've been programmed to take care of people, right? We all have that, but especially women, there's this social construct that says you have to be of service to others. And there's this taking care of energy, right? This responsibility for others that sometimes we even take on stuff that's really not our own and that no one asked us to in the first place. And so being a warrior for yourself as a woman and the people that I'm working with currently is oftentimes working through that guilt and shame and forgiving yourself for not being able to serve everyone. And the way that I need to serve others is by serving myself and filling up my own cup so that I have enough to serve others. And a lot of women who come to me are have depleted that cup within themselves. They're like, I've got nothing left, but I'm still called to serve. And we need to start to make a shift in priorities where it's not to say that taking care of others isn't more important, but we realize that by taking care of myself is how I'm really going to serve others. And so the shift is from taking care of others and family as being your number one priority to personal growth, to what do I want? And asking that not from a selfish place, just from a place of I'm worthy of what I want, just as much as everyone else. And if they took care of themselves, we'd all be a lot happier. And so a lot of times we enable other people to stay where they are by taking care of them. And it's kind of like a truck and a trailer. And we're the truck and we're pulling along all of these trailers. And the only way those trailers are going to become trucks is if we let them go. And it's not to say goodbye forever. It's not to say you're a bad person. It's just to say, I can't do this right now because I respect me so much. I respect me so much. I'm a warrior for myself that the way I'm going to stand up is this beautiful, yeah, I'd love to do that for you. And I can't right now. Or maybe I even can right now, but I'm choosing not to. And that's really hard for me to say. But I really hope that in me making this choice, I inspire you to do the same thing for yourself. Because that's what empowerment really is. Empowerment is I'm enough to make this choice that's so hard for me because I'm unable to do the thing I want to genuinely for you. But I need to choose me in this moment. Because really, I can give myself what I need and want, really and truly. And that's where this beautiful compassion comes from towards yourself and towards other people. It's a compassion that naturally arises. I don't have to try to be grateful or compassionate again. I naturally am because I'm taking responsibility for myself. And a lot of us are looking to others for that. And we're all ignoring our own boundaries in certain ways. But the way that we come together is by putting up boundaries. A boundary isn't a wall. A boundary is just where I end and you begin. Where do I end and you begin? That's where codependency comes into place in a lot of relationships, right? I've let myself be run over because I'm just trying to desperately give you what you want, so much so that I don't even know what I want or what I need or how to ask for that. And again, that's really coming from a root all the way down of I'm unworthy. I'm unworthy. I'm not enough. I don't feel like enough. So let's see. At the same time, Carly asked a question, where do you see the balance between a warrior to yourself, which I've just spoken a lot to, while a warrior for others towards a common cause? So it's kind of like, again, balance between self and other, I'm imagining, and how do we stand up together for something we collectively believe in? And where I want to bring that back to is how do we create world peace? It seems idealistic in some ways, but it does apply, I think, to what we're talking about here. If we want world peace, we have to have peace in each country, in each city, in each neighborhood, in each home, in each family, in each personal relationship with ourselves. And so if I can't learn to be who I am fully, to express who I am fully and completely in every moment, without shutting myself down because I'm afraid of making others uncomfortable, if I can't make peace within myself, how can I ever hope to have peace in my relationships, to have peace in my home and with my family, with my friends, in my neighborhood, in my community, in society, in the city, in the country, in the world? And so I think part of the way that we are warriors for a common cause, for any common cause, is by honoring ourselves first always. And that is hard for people to surrender to because we're afraid of being selfish. We're afraid of being judged as arrogant. Who are you to do that, right? So the other voice of shame, of worthiness that Brene Brown talks about is one, I'm not enough. And then it's, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to be who you are, to have what you want, to have a second house, to have so much money? And so these two voices keep us small. As soon as I start feeling like, oh, yay, I'm enough, I can go out into the world and create what I want, and I shift from to me to by me consciousness, then I get shut down by that other voice within me that says, well, who do you think you are? That's afraid of being too much. Just like Marianne Williamson said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, but that we are great beyond all measure. And so once we, again, work through that unworthiness, then it's, can I be proud of myself? Permission to be proud, permission to be joyful has been huge for me on my journey too. It's okay to be amazing at what you do and who you are. It's okay to speak facts about yourself. So oftentimes we keep ourselves small in conversation because I don't want to boast or something, right? Afraid of how people are going to perceive me speaking. And a great TED talk on this, I think it was called Be Brave, was about a woman helping other women realize, write down 20 facts about yourself that are facts. And if they're facts, then you can speak those with pride because they're just true. There's no if, ands, or buts. And how that person perceives that is not in your control. So that was very liberating for me. If it's a fact, then share that. I have every right to be proud of that. Pride is not a bad thing. Pride can come from an ego place, right? It can be this inflated ego. And also, pride can come from this humble place of like, wow, I'm really grateful that I've transformed myself, that I've spoken out, because I do believe that all of our voices matter. And I want to be an example of that for other people. I'm proud of letting go of all of those limitations so consciously. I did that work. I've come a long way. Acknowledging ourselves, right? That's what it is. Pride doesn't have to inflate the ego. Pride can be this beautiful softening into the greatness that you are. So it's confidence balanced with humility. And that's pride. We have every right to be proud. And in fact, the people who aren't proud of me, I don't want to be your friend. I want friends who, even when they're down and I have to give myself permission to be joyful and celebrate, man, I just had these like 5 life-changing conversations, coaching conversations with people. I want to be able to share that and people be happy for me in that. It's not me boasting, it's me saying that's what happened. And I want to really reinforce that in myself. Brian, keep doing that. You are worthy of that. It is worth that much money. You do change people's lives, right? And then because we don't acknowledge that, we don't step into that true calling. We don't honor our passion. And then that's when we need to overcompensate a lot of times to bring this back around to being a warrior. We overcompensate by thinking we need to try to be the warrior when all I needed to do was show up as me. So don't be a warrior, be you. Be you. And you might be a warrior. You might be a different kind of warrior. You might not resonate with that at all. That's why there's a book called, I think, The Power of Introverts. A great example of being who you are. Hi, Vignesh. Thanks for tuning in. A great example of being who you are and inspiring others. I think it's all actually called The Power of Being Quiet or something like this. But we need those spokespeople. We need those people from every walk of life to help show your tribe, all of those other people who are just like you, because believe it or not, you are not alone, that it's okay to be weird, to be your kind of weird. We're all afraid of, yeah, this like our idiosyncrasies being perceived in a way that people judge us and don't like us, right? Totally normal and natural. So do I need to be a warrior to get past those? Or could I just accept them? And so this is really bringing about the difference in the idea of how we grow. How we grow and how we get to where we want to go isn't the way that we thought it was, from the spiritual perspective anyways. And that's the perspective that's most true for me. How we get to, hey Lisa, thanks for tuning in. How we get to where we want to go isn't by trying, isn't by controlling, isn't by brute force. It's by fully and completely accepting exactly where I am. And that's the scariest thing for the mind to do, because then it goes, well, what am I going to do now? Because I have to do something. And it's scary because if I accept what is, I'm afraid it won't change. See if that resonates with you. If I accept what is, I'm afraid it won't change. But the funny counterintuitive piece is, if I accept what is, what I find is it changes instantly. And it's only the acceptance that's going to create the change, because all I'm doing in non-acceptance is creating resistance within my experience that's stopping me from being there already. And so I create this internal fight within myself rather than allowing the energy to move through. It's similar to desire. It's not that desire is a bad thing. It's just that oftentimes the desire, one, comes from a place of ego and personal will versus the will of life. But then also, ego creates separation between who I am now, who I want to be, or what I have now and what I want to have. And so, what that tells the universe is, I don't have what I want. I don't have what I want. I'm not there yet. It's not all here now. And so I've created a limitation for myself just through my belief that it's not already here. Because I want it to be here in the way that I want it to be here. And I'll explain that. I want it to be here, and I want to be who I am in the way that I want to be. And so you can hear that there's an expectation there. There's an expectation of, I need it to be a certain way. And I had an idea in my mind that it would be this way. And if it's not exactly how I had imagined it, I can't be happy. And so what we do is we create goalposts for ourselves that we say, I want to get there. And I want to do that thing. And I'm not there yet. But I'm going to have to do all this work, this stress and struggle to get there. And then that will, once I get to the goalpost, that means I'm successful. And when I'm successful, then I'll be happy, right? But here's the catch. So if we use this as a mathematical equation, struggle, hard work, passion, dedication equals success, which equals happiness. That means struggle and stress equal happiness. Struggle and success, generally, for most of us, we're unhappy in that. So unhappiness equals happiness. That's the loop that we're caught in. I hope I explained that well. It's easier to see on a sheet of paper when you have it written out. And so when I get to the goalpost finally, and this is what a lot of people our age especially are realizing, when I get to the goalpost finally, here's what we do. We realize it's not what I actually wanted, and we move the goalpost and we say, what's next? And so there's this exhausted experience of getting to where we want to go, if we're lucky enough, and realizing I keep moving the goalpost and it's not what I wanted anyways. Why do we do that to ourselves? And that's the illusion of following the script of life. The script of life was sold to us as happiness. If you go to school, get a job, buy a house, get married, have kids, and retire at 65, you're going to be happy. But if you're lucky enough, you'll find out that that script doesn't get you that. It does not get you the happiness, meaning, and fulfillment that you thought or were told that it would. So now what? Now I've realized that my entire existence was an illusion that was created by what I was told. And to deepen that even further, who I am, who I think I am, literally think, right? There's a thought about who I am, is not who I am. And that was mostly created by who I was told I was. So if I'm not that, then who the heck am I? And that's a very scary place to be. And that's why a lot of us won't allow ourselves to go there. I can't be honest enough and look at myself enough and humble myself enough to make the honest realization that the script of life is not going to take me to where I want to go. That the life I was sold is not going to get me what people told me. It's a loss of identity. So it's very confusing for people to be in that space. Because the achievement mentality, to bring this back to the topic of being a warrior, don't be a warrior, be you. The achievement mentality has taught us to be a warrior. The achievement mentality says, if this, then that. The creator mentality or perspective, the way of seeing the world, says, what do I want to create? What do I want to create just for me? Yeah, of course, I hope it can help others, but I'm going to create it from a joyful place because I want to create it, because it feels good, because that's me being a bird singing my song. Birds don't sing for people to hear, for other birds to hear. They sing because that's what they do. It's coming from their beingness. And that's the shift from the achievement mentality to the creator mentality as well, is the shift from I am what I do to I am who I am. I am not a reflection of what I do. And I don't need to do anything to be worthy of anything. Worthiness has no prerequisites. So a huge part I work on with almost everyone across the board in my coaching is, what is the root of the issue here? And a lot of times it's, I'm not worthy. It's a deeply rooted belief of I'm not enough. And if I believed I was enough, my entire life would be different. And that is just a shift internally. It's a 1% shift. It's like two ships that are sailing in the sea, and one takes a 1% turn, 1 degree turn, and miles later they're in totally different places. And that's the interesting thing. Everything's the same but different when we make these kind of internal transformations in the fundamental way you understand yourself, the way you see yourself as a part of the universe rather than something separate that has been taught to achieve. Trees are not saying, I need to beat you, I need to beat you, I need to grow faster. They're growing in the way that they're programmed to grow. When we were in our mother's belly for the first 9 months of our life, we didn't have to try to do anything. We didn't have to try to grow. We didn't have to try to get anywhere. But when we entered this world, suddenly we were taught to, weren't we? Suddenly we think that we need to try so hard. That's programming. That's not reality. It feels like reality because I'm living from my head, not my heart. I've touched with who I am. I've lost touch with my heart. And my heart is what's connected to me. And so if I connect back to, and it's not even like we're become necessarily disconnected. I've lost my awareness of the connection that already is. That's a really important distinction to make. I've lost the awareness of the connection, not the connection itself. So how would we be living our lives differently if I knew that I am a part of life rather than a separate part that needs to fend for itself? This individualistic Western culture that says like, you have to go get and achieve to be successful, especially for men. Our whole worthiness is tied up in what we achieve. And if we're not achieving, then we're not strong. We're not worthy of that partner. We need to provide for them. And so it's a really hard thing to let ourselves off the hook from, because it's perceived as weakness if we do. So we're living from programming. What is that programming? I want to know who I am versus who I've been programmed to be. And that's why Alan Watts talks about the art of becoming who you are is not unlike the art of sculpting, where the sculptor doesn't so much create the sculpture as much as we chip away what we're not. That's the real art of becoming who you are. Realizing what are the pieces that I need to chip away to reveal what's already there. I don't need to try and do anything. I need to let go of who I've been programmed to be. And that's a very scary process for some people, right? It's like we were born as pure potential and infinite possibility as a baby, that innocence, right? That we're all attracted to. It's reflecting who we are. And then we get told how to be, how to do, how to think, how to act, how to feel. We go into somebody training. And then those are like coats being put on this pure possibility, this infinite potential, until there are so many layers that we don't even know who we are anymore. And then here's what happens when you start to, like, Brian, you're telling me about this pure essence of who I am. I kind of am curious about discovering more of that, but how do I become aware of these coats that I have on? Or I kind of am aware of some of the coats I have on, but how do I take them off? Because when I do, it seems to really scare other people. It is scary for other people when you start liberating yourself. Because when you take a coat off that you've realized you don't need, something you're not, you've chipped away at that sculpture, then other people who are wearing that same coat say, put that back on. Because in you showing me that you don't need that coat, that means I don't need my coat either. You're forcing me to show up more authentically. You're forcing me to realize that I've been protecting myself and playing way more small than I know is possible. So put that coat back on. You better get that 9 to 5 job and keep it. You need that safety and security. I know I have, so you do too. And they put their own limitations on you. So that's where that permission to disappoint other people comes so important as we liberate ourselves to be who we are. Because there are so many expectations, obligations, shoulds and shouldn'ts and supposed to's that we have to navigate our way through just to be who we are. Because being who we are is inherently vulnerable, because I'm taking off all my coats to reveal and expose the pureness of who I am. And so that's when people say, like, when you give yourself permission, you automatically give others the permission to be who they are too, because you're shining your light. Shining your light by removing the layers of who you're not. And we don't need to be a warrior to do that. And if we want to use the warrior because that we feel strength in that label, then I would say the warrior that we need to be is one of a warrior of surrender. Surrender to the process. Hey, Meryl, thanks for tuning in. Talking about don't be a warrior, be you. Be you. We need more people who are being themselves rather than putting on another mask of trying to prove something to themselves or other people. Being who we are isn't I'm going to be who I am. It's a softening into I am who I am. I am who I am. And I don't need to try so hard to be that. So we create limitation, not abundance. So the abundance that we're trying to create so hard, right? By working our 9 to 5 job, by trying to survive and get by, right? We're trying to make a living, not a life. There's a difference between surviving and thriving. And some people are having that beautiful yet hard realization that, oh my gosh, I'm not thriving. I've been surviving. I've been surviving. I've been trying to keep up appearances. I've been trying to make my way in the world because I wasn't taught how to, really. I wasn't really taught how to. So I'm doing the only thing I know how to do. which is be who I'm not in order to please other people, in order to perpetuate a cycle of suffering for myself where I go to work 9 to 5 just to pay the bills. So little of what I'm doing is true to me, which is why one of the top 5 regrets that people have before they die is I wish I had lived a life true to myself, not a lie that others expected of me. If that's one of the top 5 regrets that people have before they die, that helps me gain insight into, okay, am I really being true to myself? What do I really want just for me? And maybe the way that I can serve others is by being who I am. And I don't need to try and put on my warrior cap to inspire others. I can just go out and be that already. Through every action that I take, maybe that's enough. In being alignment with who I truly am and looking back from 80-year-old me, looking back, what would I have wanted to have done with my life, despite how scary? That's the courage of a warrior. It takes real courage not to be anything other than who you are. And it's a softening into that. It's a humbling. It's a surrender. So I'd love to hear any other questions anyone has after this video. I'd love to start a conversation on this. How does this apply to your life, the lives of other people around you? If you have any questions, message me personally or in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear from you. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the True Inner Work community, people who are ready to really look at themselves, to reveal who they truly are, to reveal what's already there, to live that life of meaning and purpose and fulfillment and natural joy, not trying to be joyful, not trying to do this positive thinking. It's happening naturally. Thanks so much for listening, and I will see you next time.